In the world of mid-range Chromebooks, it looks like 2018 is going to go out with a bang, and I wanted to find that kind of spectrum there. So mid-range Chromebooks, in my head, range somewhere from $500 to $750, and where that space was a little bit empty just 6 months ago, it's filling up rapidly as we kind of close out 2018. And one of the devices that you're going to see on shelves in Best Buys is this new Dell Inspiron Chromebook 14. Now, what's really significant about this particular device is that Dell, instead of just saying the Dell Chromebook whatever and giving it some kind of random model, they've actually applied one of their long-standing brand names to this device, Inspiron. And if you've been around PCs for any amount of time, you know that Dell has made the Inspiron line of PC for a long time. And so the fact that they're kind of starting to group Chromebooks into this so that when consumers go and they go, oh, I'm getting an Inspiron, cool, I've read about those and I've seen those, or I've owned one before, I kind of know what to expect from a hardware standpoint. Dell now is saying, okay, well, if you like that device, there's also one with Chrome OS that's a Chromebook too. So you're going to get the same kind of build quality here. You're going to get the same kind of long-standing attention to detail that Dell puts into the Inspiron line, and it's going to run Chrome OS instead. So I've had this device just for about a day now. I've used it for about 36 hours actually as my only device. I've worked from it and done all that kind of stuff. So we wanted to give you a quick first impressions of the Dell Inspiron Chromebook 14. Before we get into that, this video is brought to you by Audible, and for our viewers today, Audible's actually offering a free audiobook with a 30-day trial. So all you got to do is go to audibletrial.com/Chrome Unbox, get signed up, and you can start listening today. So as always, we're going to get into a lot more in-depth detail when we do the review, but I want to give you a first couple impressions on this device because they're really good. And just like they were with the Acer Chromebook Spin, the 13-inch model there's just a lot to like, and I think it's going to be the case with all the other ones that are coming out in this kind of mid-range sector for Chromebooks at the end of this year. I just think there's going to be a lot to like, and it's going to be difficult to make a decision. So as we move through these things, hopefully there's something that stands out to you that says, yeah, I think of the group, this one is the better one for me to purchase. And before we even open this one up, as far as specs go, I think Dell has put together probably the best combo total for everything on offer for the price. And so right now you can get this thing for $599 at Best Buy and right from Dell as well. And I'm sure it'll show up at different places too. But for that $599, you're getting pretty much all the boxes checked. So you're getting the Core i3, the 8th Gen U series, so it is fanned, but I haven't heard, other than when it starts up, I haven't heard any fan noise whatsoever from it. But you're getting the Core i3 paired with 4 gigs and 128 gigs of internal storage. So remember that, because there are lots of models of these other ones that come with much less. And so you're getting 128 gigs of storage. You're also getting a stowable stylus. You're getting a full HD, probably 300 plus nit brightness screen. It looks great. And we're gonna look at all that stuff here in just a second. But I wanted to mention all those specs because I feel like Dell has put together probably the most compelling overall package. Again, we've still got reviews to do of all these other ones, and I may change my mind at some point in the future. But for right now, as I'm just kind of having my first time with this device, I'm just really, really impressed. It's an all aluminum body. There's just a lot of good stuff going on here. And so one other thing I wanted to point out with this one is that the charging brick, a lot of times people comment on this a lot when we do unboxings or first impressions. They're like, oh man, I saw it's not just a normal, like a block style charging brick. It's the big long, plug the extra piece in. And this one is that. I'm a fan of having these though. And Apple, for instance, does that. So you have a charging block that can be detached and a cord can be added, because those blocks take up a lot of room when you're talking about putting it in a wall. But you've got this normal kind of setup here, and it's USB-C obviously, but it's a nice small brick, and it is set up actually out of the box like this, and it's wound up like this, and so that packs away really nicely. So let's take a look around this device. Again, like I said, it's all aluminum, so there's no like plastic edges and stuff like that. There's some sharpness to parts of it, so it's not like the most premium, perfectly put together device, and it's heavy. I mean, it's a good pound at least, more than say the Pixelbook or something like that. So I mean, you'll pick it up and you'll notice it. This thing's heavy. But it's okay. It feels substantial. It feels well built and well put together. And again, this is built from the same stuff that Dell has built the other Inspiron devices, for years from, and so they know how to put a computer together pretty well. You'll notice there are some fan ports and that kind of stuff, and that's, again, this is a U series processor, so it does need a fan. but that also means it actually has a lot more performance under the hood. And so speaking of under the hood, the screen on this thing is a full HD, pretty standard 1920 by 1080, so there's no extra weird ratios going on here. It's not tall or anything like that. It's just a standard 16 by 9 full HD screen, but it gets plenty bright, and at 14 inches, full HD looks great. And Chrome OS scales perfectly now, so you can actually scale it up just a couple notches to make sure everything's nice and readable on the screen, and it still looks clean and crisp. And if you get real close, you can pixel peep and pick out a few pixels, but overall, I've been really happy with the display. For me, when I put a display underneath my normal big screen that I kind of work from, it looks really good. It's really colorful, it's bright, it's vibrant. And so if I put kind of a mediocre screen underneath of it, it's really bothersome because I'm not just looking at this screen, I'm looking at this screen next to a nice screen. And so this one is held up just fine. Brightness is really good. I would estimate somewhere between 300 and 350 nits, something like that, but it looks great. The front-facing camera does kind of what you'd expect it to do. It's a 720p thing. But if we move down and start talking about the keyboard, it's backlit. So again, like I said, this thing checks a lot of boxes. I don't think the trackpad is glass. I'm not really sure, but I noticed some oils building up on it as the day wore on, and so usually glass trackpads can go days before you really have to wipe them off. That being said, it performs really well. It's nice and spacious. It feels really good. The click mechanism's really good. Again, this thing just kind of feels like a tank. It's just really well built and put together. A surprising piece on it so far. Cranked up some music and it sounded really awesome. It's got a nice full sound to it, even though they're bottom firing speakers. Really have enjoyed listening to some stuff for videos and that kind of thing, and just random music. I don't listen to laptop speakers that much, but it's a nice perk when they sound really good. Port selection is also really good, and you're gonna see the same things as some of these mid-range Chromebooks come out. They're based on the same baseboard after all, but you have a USB-C on both sides. Both sides can charge, both sides can do output video and all that kind of stuff, so that works really well for my setup. But you also get the addition of a USB-A port on the side as well, which is really nice because everybody hates dongles. So being able to just plug in an SD card reader or being able to plug in a thumb drive or something like that, it's just nice not to go have to hunt down a dongle in order to get that done. So I think Dell has put together just a really good package thus far. And the Core i3, I haven't even benchmarked it yet. It's been so good, I haven't even had to wonder about it. It's with multiple monitor setups, it's just flying and everything feels really good. And you'll probably notice, as I said in the specs just a minute ago, it has a ton of storage, but only 4 gigs of RAM. And again, I know some people get really bent out of shape about RAM. And if you're gonna run a bunch of Linux applications, maybe that's a concession you gotta really think of. But for my use case, what I've found, probably in the last year, honestly, is that 4 gigs of RAM with Chrome OS seems to be plenty. And so I would rather err on the side of having lots more storage, especially as Android apps and Linux apps and all this kind of stuff are flowing down. I want to have plenty of room to put stuff. And so I would venture to say that 128 gigs of storage is probably more beneficial. Your use case may differ, but what I've found so far, performance has not lacked at all because of 4 gigs of RAM. And let's not forget, underneath here, there is a stowable stylus. And so while I wouldn't say this is a device that you would want to flip into tablet mode too often, because A, it's 16 by 9, so it's kind of got that long ratio. When you hold it this way, it almost feels completely ridiculous. But if you're in a plane, you can set it up in tent mode, no problem. It doesn't take up much space while you're watching a film. If you want to go into presentation mode, then that works as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can use convertibles that don't really rely on it being a good tablet. And this is not a good tablet. It's way too heavy, way too thick, just way too substantial to be walking around holding it like a tablet. But that doesn't mean that the convertible forms are useless. They're actually pretty useful. In a meeting I had this morning, actually had to jot some notes down. So using Squid with the included pen works really well. So I've got a lot of good stuff to say, and I can't wait to spend some more time with this device and get the full review and maybe be able to tell you, hey, turned out 4 gigs of RAM is not enough. So Dell did everything right except give you an 8 gig option, because they don't. This comes in one configuration and this is it. No different processors, no different storage, no different RAM. Dell has said, hey, this is our Chromebook, here you go. And thus far, I feel like they're nailing it. But keep it locked to the channel and we'll have the review up hopefully pretty soon. And if you like this one, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below. Until next time, we'll see you.